In this video, we're going to see Mehdi Hasan, George Conway, and another panel member absolutely shred this Donald Trump ally, Mick Mulvaney, for turning a blind eye to Donald Trump's ridiculous and sometimes illegal antics. As usual, let's watch the video in full. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts towards the end.
So let's bring in our patient panel of experts. Let me begin with George Conway, lawyer, co-founder of the anti-Trump Lincoln Project. George, you were a lifelong Republican. You're now a very well-known, outspoken critic, I think it's fair to say, of the president. Mick thinks it's unfair to talk about fascism, authoritarianism. He didn't accept any of the examples I gave. Why do you think Trump is an authoritarian?
Because of the very things that Mick wrote about in 2020. He thought it was possible that Donald Trump would ignore the results of the 2020 election. That's a fascist. That's authoritarian. He's also a pathological liar because he continued after people told him, people who came into the White House and told him, you lost. And he didn't want to believe them. He brought in other people. No staff person could prevent him from doing that. He wanted somebody to justify his lies. He is a pathological liar with no moral conscience, no decency, no honor, and that is the problem. And all of those people end up being fascists. You were right after January 6th, and I think it's a disgrace that you now sit here and try to defend him when basically he's done nothing but get worse.
I know the information he was getting at the time. And if you were in the White House and every single person who walked in and said, you won, you won, you won, you won, what would you believe?
The evidence was to the contrary. They didn't say he won. His own lawyers told him he won. The Justice Department people told him they would resign if they tried to make him.
As George points out, the DOJ were telling him he lost. Bill Barr was telling him he lost. The guy's telling me he won was the My Pillow guy. Maybe he shouldn't have been inviting the My Pillow guy into the White House.
And
maybe that's disqualifying.
I don't like the fact that My Pillow guy was a senior advisor to the president.
Whose fault was that? Whose fault was that?
Donald Trump is ultimately responsible for his advisors. There's no question.
So why give him a pass then?
Because I understand how the presidency works. It's one of the most isolated.
There's never been a president like this. You know this.
That's fine, but that doesn't mean it's fascist. All presidents are different. Yes, he is his own thing, and I get that.
Isn't the problem, though, Mick, twice now tonight you've said he got bad information on the photo, he got bad information on the election. Maybe the President of the United States should be someone who's smart enough to reject bad information.
Again, in fact, it's an easy rhetorical point. It doesn't make you...
Leaders should be smart,
It doesn't make you a fascist authoritarian if you don't do what you've just said.
Put that to one side.
Face it.
You accept that leaders should be smart and not dumb.
Yes, I would prefer people to be smart and not dumb.
And yet tonight you've told the audience that Donald Trump was dumb on 2 occasions. He listened to a My Pillow guy and he listened to an unnamed aide who gave him a clearly doctored image.
My difficulty with the Trump decision-making was allowing those people to be advisors to the president in the first place.
Okay, let me bring in Greg. Greg Swenson, do you believe that Donald Trump won the 2020 election?
I'm really not sure, but I think what's important here is one of the reasons he won in 2024 is because of the pressure from the press, pressure from critics, not only calling the fascist and a racist, but also they start accusing you. How could you vote for a guy who's a misogynist, even though he's not? It's one of the reasons he won, is that the people, got a little bit offended by this sort of judgment and this virtue signaling from his critics when he's done a lot of things really well. No one's perfect, but he's doing so much good for the people that voted for him, especially the working class people in America.
I apologize, Greg, I didn't introduce you to the audience. Greg is the chairman of Republicans Overseas UK, which is why I asked you about Trump and the election. Christina Greer is here, Associate Professor of Political Science at Fordham University, been waiting very patiently. Christina, is this just about liberals being upset about the way Trump speaks, or is it something more than that in your view?
I find that the defenders of Trump like to sort of talk about semantics and sort of get tied up in words. What we are looking at is public servants. You have served this country diligently. We know your CV, but you know better, yet you refuse to do better. I think that's the piece that is so frustrating with liberals or people on the left, where you were in Congress, you understand the separation of powers, you understand checks and balances, and what you're looking at right now in Trump 2.0, where he's steamrolling Congress, where he's ignoring the courts, where he's absolutely no respect for the Constitution. And in the litany of things that you listed, George, the one thing that you forgot was shame. We are dealing with a man who has zero shame. And what's even worse is that we're looking at people who were serving in Congress, who were Republicans, who actually know that this man is actually eroding our constitutional rights. And he's only able to do it because there are good-meaning Republicans who've just forgotten that they are here to serve the American people and not writing op-eds for one man and not serving one man.
I get the part that you don't like the fact that he has any shame. I get that. Is he the ideal person for president of the United States? No, but I'm okay with him being the president. I'm especially okay with him being the president over the other choice, because that's what we had. We had a binary choice. You don't get a chance to sit back. So one of the reasons I was critical of him in the Republican primary. Primaries are when we get a chance to go and say, you know what? I get to vote for the very best person I want. In general, it's a binary choice.
Can I just ask, what did Kamala Harris do? You obviously disagree with her politically. She's a Democrat, you're a Republican. Yeah. But what did she do that was worse than lighting the fuse of an insurrection?
It was the... I put it to you this way. You were worried, and we all should be worried about a deterioration in democracy. There's no question about that. I happen to feel that the policies that she represented would be just as deteriorating. By the way, why did Donald Trump do so well in 2024? Because he got a message. He was struggling going into the primaries. Ron DeSantis, if you remember, was doing very well. And then he got charged in New York with this criminal charge for this financial thing. And it gave him this message. Look what they're doing to me. I'm rich, I'm famous, I'm white. If they can do it to me, imagine what they can do to you. That's a very powerful message, because that is what the Democrats were doing.
My point. You didn't answer my question.
I am answering your question, which is that a lot of us
sat back. Charging Donald Trump for crimes that he clearly committed is worse than an insurrection. So, I mean, I'm quoting Bill Barr. Bill Barr said he committed a crime in Florida.
My point is, if you're worried about the long-term health of the democracy, you could look very critically at Kamala Harris.
Okay, let me ask you this. Last year you said
So, honestly, it just shocks me the way that the right have just completely lost their backbone when it comes to Donald Trump. These are people who are not willing to stand up to Donald Trump and not willing to step a foot out of line, because the power that it is that they have, that they wield, is way more important than actual democracy, actually standing up and representing their constituents and the people that it is that voted them into office. Now look, the reality is this: every single Republican that does this political theater and acts like Donald Trump is this, that, they all know the truth. Donald Trump himself knows the truth when it comes to the 2020 election. He does. And let me give you guys a bit of points and evidence to back that up. Number one, Donald Trump has privately admitted that he lost. In interviews, he's acknowledged losing the election, saying he lost by a whisker. Yes, he would later on down the line come out and say it was sarcasm, but the reality is we know that it wasn't. Donald Trump well knows that he lost the 2020 election. The Georgia phone call, Donald Trump asked Georgia's Secretary of State to find just enough votes to change the outcome after being told his fraud claims were false, showing that he knew the actual results. And to this very day, because of the fact that Georgia's Secretary of State refused to do that, why? Because it would be an attack on democracy, Donald Trump to this very day still has negative things to say about him. Officials and aides told him that he lost as well. If you take a look at the Attorney General at the time, Bill Barr, Trump's very own legal team repeatedly told him there was no widespread fraud and that he had lost. But Donald Trump refused to accept that. Even taking it a step further, over 60 lawsuits were dismissed or failed in a court of law because there was no evidence to overturn the election. Donald Trump's very own vice president, remember when they had the news outside the Capitol, and they were screaming, "Hang Mike Pence," simply because of the fact that Mike Pence even knew that what Donald Trump was trying to do was an attack on democracy. This is the reality. Donald Trump knew. He knew that he lost the 2020 election. He just didn't want to accept the facts. And in regards to Kamala Harris, Mick Mulvaney is just being very disingenuous, and he's still trying to save the little bit of credibility that he has on the right and within MAGA, because this is the reason why he sits here and he now says that Kamala Harris would have been a worse choice versus Donald Trump. Let's have it right. Kamala Harris literally said herself in the campaign trail leading up to the 2024 election, if Donald Trump would have lost, he would have went ahead and he would have refused the outcome if he lost. And we heard him saying things. We literally heard him saying and doing things to plant the seed that people are stealing the 2024 election. But funnily enough, when the results came out and he won, that completely went away. Kamala Harris spoke about Donald Trump undermining democracy. And we've seen it. All the things that it is that Kamala Harris said about Donald Trump, it has come to pass now. Was Kamala Harris perfect? No. But was she the better choice between her and Donald Trump? Most certainly. Why? Because number one, she would have definitely upheld the Constitution. Number two, she would have most definitely respected democracy. And overall, she was just a better person when it comes to her and Donald Trump. Point blank period. This isn't rocket science, and it's not hard to believe. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below on this clip. Mick Mulvaney having absolutely zero spine, absolutely embarrassing stuff. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below. And guys, do me a massive favor. We are less than 500 subscribers away to the 50,000 subscriber mark. Honestly, I really appreciate the support you guys have given the channel thus far. But if you guys could do me a massive favor, share this video and let's get it in front of as many people as possible, and hit the thumbs up button purely for the YouTube algorithm. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you guys in the next video.